Joining me today is my friend Madison McGhee, powerhouse behind the acclaimed podcast Ice Cold Case, where she bravely investigates her father's unsolved murder. Her success is inspiring, and she's using it to spark real change in the entertainment industry. Madison, thank you for coming to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So, you have such a plethora of things that you've done in your life.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Let's start from the very, very beginning. What was your childhood like? I heard that you were making home videos from the start, and you wanted to be like a filmmaker or content creator from a very, very young age.
Yeah, I was making videos with my cousin Michael, who is now like a documentary filmmaker. He lives in
Oh
Nashville.
wow!
And he's 10 years older than me. So he had like a lot of the knowledge, and I was just like a little kid, but we would make like home videos. We would write little movie scripts and like get in my grandma's like Land Rover and make it look like I was driving. I mean, we did like all this crazy stuff. And it was so fun, and I really liked that. And I wanted to do that forever. And this was before, like, I didn't grow up with social media.
Right.
So it was before content creating was like a thing. It was very weird to be like, oh, I want to make videos or movies
Yes.
for a living. Because no one was really doing that, especially like in the digital sense. But yeah, I grew up in West Virginia, and that's kind of where the dream began.
What really got you interested though into investigative journalism?
Yeah, so I'm investigating my dad's murder,
Right.
which was how I got into it. And since then, I'm so intrigued by the process and the curiosity and the families attached to these stories that it has sparked sort of a grander career path mission.
Right.
But it all started with my own personal story.
Well, I read somewhere at first you didn't know that he was actually murdered. You had initially thought that it was like a natural death, or can you expand on that?
Yeah, when I was 6, my dad was murdered, but I didn't know that. And
Right.
so my family told me that my dad had a heart attack and that's how he passed away. And it makes sense. I was 6. It's hard to criticize that decision because what do you really do
Right.
with a child? However, my family never actually ended up telling me the truth until I was 16. And I started asking some questions because I had this weird feeling that something else was going on. And that's when they told me. And I wonder now if they ever would have said anything or if they would have just let me live my life not knowing the truth. But yeah, it's a weird age, and I understand kind of where they were coming from. But I also think we underestimate sort of what kids can comprehend and understand. So I do wish that they would have told me.
Yeah, absolutely. So this began like your Ice Cold Case podcast. That's the name of the podcast.
Yeah.
So tell us how did you get this podcast together? How did you I know it's very emotional for you. So how does it feel when you're, putting all this, it's a lot of questions, I understand, but how in the world did you even think I'm going to start a podcast and find out who killed my father?
Yeah, so it actually happened the other way around, which is interesting. So I started investigating the case, and I was like, I really want to know what happened to my dad. And I started asking questions, getting access to the case files and all of that kind of stuff. And I had a call with a friend of mine who had done this before for not her own personal story, but she works for a company that does this. And
Right.
she was like, record everything, just in case, you never know. So started recording everything. And then later, like a year later, is when I was kind of like, okay, I'm not getting anywhere with the police, the prosecutors,
Right.
but now I have all this stuff. Maybe I make a podcast, and that becomes a thing that adds pressure to them to do something.
Right.
So it was sort of like I reverse engineered it almost. I had no idea it was going to be a podcast.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it was. And then I put it out, and the rest is sort of history.
You've been working at this every single day, and you've been, doing this podcast for years. Do you ever feel certain emotions when you're doing it? I know it's very hard content. So I probably wouldn't be able to do something like that, especially if it was my own family member.
Yeah, it's tough. I sort of go through these waves. So For some reason, on days that I'm able to like get a lot done, I like really compartmentalize and I'm just like, I'm just doing a job. This is a job. And I just kind of keep trucking along. And then I have days where
Yeah.
I, lay in bed all day and I just can't do it. And maybe some people operate more at like an even keeled all the time, but I sort of fluctuate at like the super hyper productive and then the super not productive at all. So I don't really live in that like middle ground at all, but I do operate sort of at the end of the spectrum. So I try to get as much done when I'm sort of in that mood as I can,
Yes.
knowing that like I'm gonna crash at some point and I'm gonna need like 3 days to like do nothing at all and like watch Real Housewives or something.
Do you have a favorite TV show you like? You like reality TV, I
I
bet.
love reality TV. I am a huge, huge fan of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City.
Oh, okay.
It's the best television show to ever exist. It's magic.
Yes.
It's a magical show. And I watch it and I rewatch it and I rewatch it. There's a new season coming. I can't wait. And then it's gonna be amazing.
Do you ever watch Love Island?
I do. I do watch Love Island. I watched this year. I watched last year and I watched this year.
Uh-huh.
Last year much better. This year not so great. Lots of drama, but not in like a fun drama sense. In like
Yeah.
a this doesn't feel good
Yeah.
kind of thing, but it's still a great show.
So before your podcast, you've been working in, this industry, entertainment, for like a very, very long time. You're working at Warner Brothers, Food Network, and like Hulu. Like, tell us about that. Like, and you were even in Washington, DC, where I'm from originally, working with the Wizards as well.
Yeah, I've been in like some form of entertainment essentially my entire career.
Right.
I had like a year out of college where I wasn't necessarily working in entertainment, and then kind of a fluke of my resume. But then the rest I've only worked in entertainment, which is interesting because a lot of people are like that in LA, but you meet people everywhere else, and that's not their story. But um,
Yeah.
yeah, I started in sports entertainment, so I was doing like doc style content for sports teams owned by Monumental. So Wizards, Caps, Mystics. They owned a couple indoor football teams or something. And then I moved into like news, and then I moved into unscripted, and then I moved into like a little bit more scripted, a little bit of unscripted kind of combo. And now I'm sort of in like the comedy space. So it's it, it's all fun and interesting. I much prefer the like scripted comedy. That's my
Yeah.
vibe. I like unscripted when it's more like newsy, documentary, investigative, sort of the stuff I'm doing with the podcast. But um, I'm fortunate that I've sort of had a lot of different unique experiences, whereas some people really get into like a very hyper specific genre and like that's their whole career.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
I am lucky that I have been able to kind of bop around and like do a bunch of different things.
Yeah. How long have you been here in LA?
I've lived in LA for a little over 4 years. I moved like sort of mid-pandemic, but like towards the tail end, and things were still closed. You were wearing masks, but it was like about to reopen.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been here, and I have no plans on leaving.
No plans at all. Only
I love it. I think I'll live in LA at least like part time, have a place here forever.
right.
Yeah.
Tell me more about, you were in the Warner Brothers Discovery Access program.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
the first year for their unscripted program. So they do a bunch of different programs for like different things. So like writing, directing, line producing. They have a bunch of different ones. I think they have a comedic writing one, but late night writing one. So I did the unscripted producing program. And it was the first year, but it's super fun. They connect you with a ton of people. You go in for like a week and they have like seminars and people come in and they talk about different aspects of production from like the development all the way to post-production. You meet a ton of production companies that like work with Warner Brothers. So they come in, owners or EPs for their companies come in. It was really cool. And then they place you into on a show at like a higher level than what you were at. But I got placed on a show I was already working on just at a higher level.
Yeah.
So I got to kind of do a different job with like a crew I had already worked with. It was actually really nice. Some people got placed with like new people they didn't
People they didn't
know.
know, but you got promoted
But I
into
basically
the
just got
same.
promoted
Right.
on the same set that I was on before, and I've kept that role since. So it's been really nice.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been cool. And actually, we're shooting that same show now 3 seasons later this year. So it's like fun to, I was already working with this team and it was great, but it's amazing to be connected to their team. And, if I ever need anything, like I can grab coffee with like the head of the program and are willing to connect me if I'm like, I need a job or I need something or, oh, I've heard this like production is staffing. Do you think I can pass my resume along? Maybe I don't get it, but maybe you do. And it's nice to just have that connection.
It's really nice. They're looking out for you. I mean, I think that's really hard, especially when people are trying to find jobs out of college or in
Yeah,
entertainment.
totally.
Circling back to your podcast, um, when you have guests on your show, like are you having like police officers, FBI agents, or like who do you like you usually bring onto your show? And
So the show is like a documentary, but in audio form.
got you.
So I interview like a ton of people, like officers, family members, people who knew my dad. And I basically like piecemeal it like you're watching a doc.
Right.
So it'll be like, oh, my dad was born at this time on this day in this town. And then insert someone talking about the town to like add context. And then it might be like someone talking about what my dad was like as a kid. And then it's sort of like spliced like that. So I might pull like 2 lines from an interview, put it in, and then like use the rest of that interview later. I really want people to understand that like there's no such thing as a perfect victim. I think we get really caught up in true crime when we see like a white woman going missing or the types of victims that you see on like documentaries or the stories that you're sort of drawn to. It's the perfect like cheerleader from high school or the wonderful housewife or the loving father who had a stable job. And like, yes, that is sad. And those people don't deserve to get killed or go missing or whatever has
Right.
tragically happened to them. But neither does anyone else. And I think we sort of deem ourselves like the morality police of like who deserves what.
Right.
And I think I want people to listen to my show and start to see my dad as a human and then later sort of find out about his colored past. But you're already so deep into it that you're like, oh, but I feel connected to this person. And I don't think he deserved to die. But if you had heard it the other way around and you had heard all the things he had done, then you might have changed your mind. So I want to kind of humanize the victim storytelling a little bit and how we tell these people's stories, but also how we consume content in that way.
Absolutely, especially how I mean, in this country, we typically overlook. I think victims, specifically Black men victims,
Totally.
or other victims of color, we usually don't hear about it as much as we do for white counterparts.
Yeah.
Which it's sad. It's a reality. What's one advice that you would give to to someone that's like scared to start their own podcast?
I mean, just start it. It's like so weird and cheesy, but like it's so surprisingly easy to start a podcast. Like the upload process, all of it. It's like you can go online and like Spotify, it's free. You literally create an RSS feed and you hit upload. It's like it's the lowest lift. If you wanted to make a movie or a documentary or something, you need crew and cameras and all these things. And you can still do that for really cheap. And I could go on a whole thing about how you should just do that if that's your goal also. But podcasting is such an easy in to just making things. And I do feel like if you never even share it, what I find when I'm sort of in a rut is I just start making something and then that gets my creative juices flowing. And then I'll start thinking about, oh, and I want to do this and I'll make this. And oh, now I'm really inspired to do this. And so even if you kind of make a thing that never goes anywhere, just doing that kind of gets you started.
Yeah.
And then you're in that movement and you have a little bit of momentum. And then you go, okay, now I want to put that energy into the thing that actually goes out or gets published or whatever. So I think just starting, even if you hate the product, record in front of your camera for 5 minutes, like what you ate for breakfast. And then after a month of that, you're more comfortable in front of your camera. And then you can start doing the podcast that you want to do, but you were too nervous to do because you've been talking to a camera for 30 days.
Right.
So it's just kind of just doing something.
Oh my gosh, Madison, very well said. I love it. Where can we find you on social media? Tell us so we can know where to just look you up and to know all about you.
Yeah, Ice Cold Case is the podcast, kind of wherever, and then I'm Madison underscore McGhee on like mostly everything. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, you've heard it from Madison McGhee. Tune in to NKIB Productions, Meet the Makers. Thanks so much.